Welcome back to AV Veterans Talk. We're continuing our conversation with this week's guest, Lori Mowry. So, Lori, ProCare Hospice. You said you've been there how long?
I've been in hospice for over 10 years. I've been with ProCare for about a year now.
Because there was different, how do I say it, different entities of hospice for a while.
Yes,
Valley.
yes, there was.
There was a real big one there for a while. I'm sure ProCare is obviously fairly
Well,
big.
you know what? ProCare's actually been here for over 20 years.
Okay.
So our staff lives and works here in the Antelope Valley.
Right. I never mention other entities because I never know if there was because you moved to different.
Right. Well, other entities have been and gone from the valley.
Yeah.
But ProCare was really eager to pick up this work.
Sure.
When I shared with them that one of my passions was for veterans, because of experiences I've seen in my own family and I've seen in prior work, we know that veterans have their own military culture, their own language.
Absolutely.
They live very differently, and consequently, sometimes they die very differently.
Yes.
One of the things that people don't realize is that about 1,800 veterans a day are passing away across our country. About 1 in 4 of our deaths every day is a veteran. And up here, I'd say a little closer to 1 in 3.
Right.
We're a big veteran community.
Well, and the thing about the veterans is their passing is obviously it's like everybody else's, but there's something more there, because when a nation loses its finest, through hospice and caring individuals and people like Jerry, who is your staunch Marine. Correct?
He is our veteran volunteer extraordinaire. He is amazing.
Yeah, and the good works you do as a team. Hospice care is a team effort, and when you go in and you first a family comes to you to interview, is that the way that works? They reach out to you. How does a family, if I have, a terminally ill parent or something like that, what's that procedure?
Very often we're actually getting direct referrals from hospitals, from primary care physicians or specialty physicians. The hardest part about hospice is that most often they're coming from the hospital or a doctor's report. And at the time they walked into that facility, they believed they were still curative. They still had hope that this disease was going to be taken away from them.
Right.
24, 48 hours later, they're meeting with a hospice representative because their diagnosis is now you have a life expectancy of 6 months or less.
Right.
So it's very emotional for anyone. The concern for our veterans is that they've learned that stoicism that carried them very well through battle or through dangerous duty assignments. But they have a really hard time asking for help or for comfort.
Right.
They will calmly tell me they're not in pain unless I see that they're flinching or their body's tightening or they're grimacing as they tell me that. And sometimes that's physical pain, sometimes it's emotional pain.
Right.
So we want to take the time to delve a little deeper so that they can die as healed as possible.
Right. I know they carry a lot of pride. They're salty old dogs. And, it's hard to really, let that side be seen where, I'm in pain. Is there something you can do? Type of thing. And, of course, as a family, you don't want to see your loved one struggling like that.
Right.
And so it's really important. Now, you've done... once again, the passing of a veteran. I was over with you with your honor flight program there, and Dennis Anderson, who's been on here, and Jerry were sharing some of the stories how you go above and beyond when it comes to some of these veterans when they die, and told the great story of the airborne that passed away.
Yes.
And what Dennis and Jerry did to honor him. Do you want to share that story?
Absolutely. That was one of our patients who was actually jumped into Normandy. Clearly, that changed his life forever. He had a lot of emotions from that. He was able to use those to propel himself forward in his life. He was the one who took the attitude that, every day now is a gift. Every day is a bonus, as Honor Flight said.
Correct.
In their film. And he lived very intentionally and very well, but now all of a sudden he finds himself out of control physically, totally dependent on others. He's the one who's used to calling the shots.
Absolutely, yeah.
Used to being the protector provider, and he can't do that anymore. So Dennis and Jerry were kind enough, as we do with all of our veterans, to pay a visit as veteran comrades, just friends.
Right.
Who understand that culture of where he's come from. And it seems like even if their experiences aren't exactly the same, there's just this instant trust built because they all come from the same background and speak the same language. And so they decided they really wanted to honor him, recognize his contribution to the freedom of America. And they were able to identify the medals he had earned, replace any that were missing. That's one of the things our program does, is looks for those medal records. They awarded him with a certificate. Our congressman's office, our senator's office, our assembly office, they're also gracious. They attend to these things to celebrate these men with us. Local recruiters get in their full dress.
Right.
They go out there and shake their hands, and these guys get to relive their glory days.
Right.
The days they felt the strongest and proudest, even as they lay there in that bed, unable to even imagine doing those things anymore.
Yeah.
It just brings back this rush to them of, wow, I really did make a positive contribution in my life.
Yeah. And you even brought a couple of current serving, like 101st Airborne guys to his bedside. And I just can only imagine the aura in that room and just the spirituality of it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jerry and Dennis know everybody
Oh,
who is
absolutely.
everybody. So,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they really went out of their way to just make this guy's day and to teach his family some history while he's still living.
Correct.
Because,
Yeah.
like you said, these guys didn't come back and talk. And our World War II guys didn't even know they could come back and talk.
Right,
that
right.
wasn't something we did back
I
then.
just went back to work.
That's
Yeah,
it.
so, all right, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll kind of finish this up and stuff and talk a little bit more about the subject matter here and how we can get in touch with you and
Great.
things like that. So, okay, so we'll be right back here with Lori. I'm Bob Alvis, and thanks for joining us for this segment of AV Veterans Talk.